Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast, Finding Your Flow. I'm so excited to have you here. So, I want to welcome you to our new season of this transformational podcast, and it's called My Intuition Made Me Do It. I'm your host, Jennifer Jane Young, and I'm here to ignite inspiration within you. I'm the author of Say Yes to Your Yes, How to Trust Your Gut and Take the Leap, and the visionary behind the School of Intuitive Leadership. I've dedicated my life to empowering individuals to trust their intuition and lead their lives from that powerful inner wisdom. Through my work as an international speaker and intuitive leadership advisor, I've witnessed the transformative power of following one's intuition firsthand with entrepreneurs and organizations around the world. This season, we're diving deep into the stories of people who dare to listen to their inner voice and take the leap. Join us as we unravel the mysteries of intuition, sharing captivating experiences that will reignite your belief in the incredible guidance within you. Get ready to embark on a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. It's time to embrace the clarity and courage that comes from trusting your intuition. So sit back, relax, and prepare to be inspired into action. Your dreams are waiting. Let's make them a reality together. Raquel, I'm so excited to have you here. First of all, happy full moon. It's the full moon today.
Oh,
So super
yes.
excited to do the podcast today.
Yes.
Um, I'm really excited to dive into your story because there's a whole bunch of things in what you shared that feel really exciting. So my first question is always, what did your intuition make you do? Tell us a little bit more about that.
My God. What did my intuition not make me do? Everything I've done, I think it's because of it. So I decided to move to the US for college. That was the first time my intuition made me do something. I moved
Okay.
alone to the US, a new country. I had been, but it's a different culture, different, set of friends and rules and language too. So I moved here a long time ago for school. And then I decided to stay. I was in Savannah, Georgia. Second time my intuition made me do something was move to New York City without a job. Eh,
Oh, well,
that was really fun.
yeah.
But it led me to a series of things that very organically, of course, working very hard, but very organically, it's almost like the snowball effect. One thing leads to another, and it just keeps rolling. And I feel like that's how intuition works a lot of times. I see it like this labyrinth where you can go right or left, and you get this gut feeling that you just need to do something and you do it. And that's your
Yeah.
intuition, and it lets you to all sorts of different paths. So, started working, been in New York for a couple of years, and then I had the opportunity to go back home and lead a department at the Museum of Modern Art back in Colombia. And I was like, wow, I'm about to leave a career, what I built in New York City, go back home. It was a really hard decision, but my intuition said, you definitely need to go do that, get that experience, go back home, connect back to your roots. Was a
Mm.
year there, and my intuition said, you need to go back to New York now. It's time to go back. I came back, I started working, I was directing a nonprofit organization, and I've always been very entrepreneurial, very business oriented. So I always had this gut feeling that was bothering me, like, what are you doing working for someone else? You need to start your
Mm.
own thing. You need to go back to reconnecting with arts. And after 6 years, I decided to just jump in. I had already started my own company while I was working full time, but then it was time for me to actually follow my gut and jump into the full entrepreneurial life. And for a few years, I knew my intuition was telling me I needed to do it, and I didn't do
Mm.
it, and I was miserable for no reason.
Oh,
So,
so
yeah.
I share this a lot actually. When I don't listen to my intuition, also I suffer. Like it's excruciating.
Yeah.
It makes us feel miserable because we're living in a contracted version of ourselves instead of the expansion that's wanting to happen, right? So
Hmm.
I love that you shared that as a reminder because sometimes people are suffering and they don't understand why. Like, why am I so miserable? Why am I so frustrated with life? And when you're feeling like that, I always recommend like turn inwards and see, is there something inside that you're not listening to? Because usually there is. And once you start taking a few steps forward towards that thing, it's like life starts to get a little bit more lighter
Oh,
and more
yeah, absolutely. And I was very happy at my job and what I was doing, but I knew, to me it was very clear what my gut feeling was, and my gut
yeah,
feeling and intuition was telling me to go a different path. It's not like I didn't know. I knew very clearly that was it, but I just decided not to listen to it. And that
yeah,
created a lot of anxiety, like mood swings, um, excuses.
yeah.
Also,
And I'm curious whether like you want to separate it because it might have felt different for each kind of leap that you took, or maybe it was similar when you were getting those intuitive nudges to do the thing. Like, what did it feel like initially? How were you experiencing that? How were you receiving the messages from your intuition?
mm. Well, now looking back at it now, I realize that I'm someone that loves to get a deal done. I
Okay.
love putting a deal together. I love the sales component, the research component, the creative part of putting together a proposal, sending it. That moment when that person says, you know what, we've gone uphill, we've fought a lot, let's do it. And from there is like, it doesn't get easier, but that feeling of achievement is what I loved. And
Hmm.
I just wasn't getting that on my day to day. Of course, when you work full time for someone else, you get
Yeah.
bits of that. But when you're an entrepreneur, you're in the trenches, you're doing it every single day, right?
Yeah.
So I said to myself, I love to get a deal done. Let me see if I can do it by myself first. I was able to get a few yeses, and from there I realized like I would get this rush and this feeling from it, and that moment I
Mm.
knew that I just had to do it, do something for myself, start my own venture. So I don't know if it was like an immediate thing. It was a process that led me to experiment, talk to people, bounce ideas, and then
Mm.
act on it, but with baby steps.
Yeah.
And that was like the
It's
culmination of me realizing that my intuition was letting me into something else, both in personal and professional life, right?
Yeah, it sounds like, I talk a lot about following the breadcrumbs. Like
Mhm.
when you get an intuitive nudge, and you actually honor it and you're like, okay, I hear you. What next? Now, what do I need to do next? Life will just drop these little breadcrumbs for you to follow. And it sounds like you followed the breadcrumbs of your desires, of your joy, of like
Mhm.
what lit you up. And then when you had more of that, it's like you were lit up more, like that feeling.
100%. Mhm.
Yeah.
You know what else? I realized that every time I've changed something in
Hmm.
my life, being it career, professionally, starting my own business, or just, relationships in general, it's almost like you get to a point where you peak. You were
Hmm.
very happy, you were learning a lot, and then you peak and you stop learning and you stop growing and you stop feeling excited. Almost,
Yeah.
I feel like when that happens, your intuition is talking to you very loudly about a change that you need to make. Yeah, right.
Totally. It's always leading us to growth. Always, always our intuition.
Hmm.
And I think as entrepreneurs, like we just love growth. We're in love with growth. We're always
This is crazy.
ready for the next thing. And sometimes I talk to non-entrepreneurs and they're just like living their life and not searching for the next kind of expansion. And I'm like, what? I would die if I didn't feel
Yeah.
the next level of expansion coming. So
Yes, yes, yes. And look, I'm a young
yeah,
entrepreneur, but when I meet with people that want to ask me like, how did you know you had to start your business or where do you start? The first thing
yeah.
I tell them is, are you mentally ready for like how hard it is,
Yeah.
eh, to every morning wake up and you need to make it work.
You,
What are you gonna do today? You're gonna make it work.
yeah.
And
Oh,
you're the only person accountable for it.
Totally. There's a meme out there, a couple of versions of it that I love, and I often share it with clients when I'm coaching them, and they're like going through moments of doubt or like thinking that, they're gonna totally fail. And it's that meme where it's like, okay, I got it, I'm successful. Holy shit, what's going on? I'm gonna die. No, no, I'm okay. No, I totally suck. And it's just like this up and down all the time, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. It's crazy. So even
Yeah.
there's moments where, and this is interesting talking about intuition. There's moments where I I have an amazing day, and there's days that are just terrible, and I tell myself it's just so much easier if I quit this and I go back to working for someone else. And to me, that's just so much easier, right? But then I tell myself, is that my gut feeling and my intuition, or is that just my fear of
Mm,
continuing? And it's not my
totally.
intuition, it's like this, I don't know, joker that is trying to play with me and my in mind games
Yeah.
a little bit.
And that's how I often like I separate the left brain from the right brain when I talk about like, is it intuition or is it ego and fear? And
Mhm.
usually, yes, it's the left brain, the logical part of our brain that, you know, functions in the known and is looking for safety and all of that stuff. And that's the part of our
Exactly.
brain that's like, oh no, no, just quit all that stuff. You're going to be a lot safer here. But yeah, intuition is definitely leading us to growth, which is uncomfortable. And it's in that growth that you get to experience so many beautiful things. And I noticed in your form that you talked about getting married. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that part
Mhm.
of the story?
Well, I it was so funny because it's almost like at that moment in time where I decided, you know what, I'm ready to get married. It's like my intuition told me, you're ready. Now you need to put your energy and focus into that. And I cannot explain the feeling. I just knew, um not that I had always been dreaming of marriage or I was focused on that, but it was almost like a gut feeling that was telling me like it's time
Mm.
for me to find like my partner. Hopefully, if you do it well for the rest of your life. If not, it's totally okay. But then it's almost like it's not your intuition tells you you need to do this and then it's going to come to you and you make it happen. You need to work for it, too. So you were talking about following the
Mhm.
breadcrumbs, a little bit. So at that time it was almost like my intuition was telling me, go out and meet people. Maybe you should talk to a few people and put yourself out there. So I took baby steps because to me it was very scary. Dating is very scary, for
Oh
everyone,
man, I
but
feel you. It's so
for,
scary.
for me specifically, and I feel everyone is going through that right now.
Yeah.
So I put myself out there in whatever I was comfortable. I know we always talk about putting ourselves in uncomfortable situations. That's how you create growth, but I feel like you can do that in control environments and go slow,
Totally.
as well. And I met my husband on a dating app, which is something I would have never done in my entire life. I swiped, swiped, swiped. I felt so uncomfortable and it's
Yes.
so awkward and frustrating. And, you connect with this person via text. You don't know who they are. You have pictures of them. Of course, I looked him up like a crazy stalker on the internet to make sure that he was not a serial killer. But he then proposed to do a meeting, and I was like, sure, what is my gut feeling telling me about this person? We met one time, and a few years later, we got married, and that was the only person I ever dated.
Wow, that is
Yes,
so
yes.
beautiful.
So, not just in professional, I feel
Yeah.
like intuition tells you what to do, but sometimes we try to put ourselves out there too fast, well, and we're
Hmm.
not ready for it. Eh,
Yeah.
Good.
And that's a really good point because our intuition will tell us when we're ready, right? We don't have to force things forward. We don't have to
Mhm.
force things into manifestation. Like I think we forget to just relax and surrender and let ourselves be guided in the right moment. And so I love how you let yourself do that. And the other thing I love about that particular story is that yes, our intuition moves us into discomfort, like you said. And it's really important to know what your nervous system needs to feel safe also while you're moving into this expansion, right? Because then if not, it turns into recklessness, right? So it's important to have both. It's like the safety that you need is more on a physiological level, right? So that you are calm and grounded and centered so that you can keep hearing your intuition as you step through this discomfort. You just want to make sure that you're not staying comfortable in the sense of like, because it's being led by fear, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Instead,
percent.
finding some safety and comfort more from a place of empowerment so that you can better hear your intuition. So I love that you shared that.
100%. 100%. Absolutely. Even in business is a little bit like, I'll give
Hmm.
you a very simple example of something that is, for me at least, very driven by intuition or fear sometimes even, sending an
Yeah.
email. When you're sending
Yeah.
an email, I don't know if you're this type of person or whoever is listening, if you're this type of person, I feel you. Sometimes I spend 3 hours reading an email and thinking about it and rereading it and redrafting it before I send it out. And so many people get annoyed by that and stressed, but I'll do whatever makes me feel comfortable, right? But
Yeah.
sometimes I won't send it because of fear, but my intuition is telling me just send it out. It's gonna be fine. You've worked so hard on this. Just send it
Yeah.
out. But my fear just won't allow me
Mm.
to do it because of all like the what would happen, is it okay, is it not okay, but I feel like some work that I need to do on myself is trying to
Yeah.
recognize when your intuition and your gut feeling should drive and you should not
Yeah.
allow anything to come from a place of fear,
Yeah.
eh, or too much logic, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Like logic is there to help us in like certain situations that's really important, like doing your budget or crossing the street, making sure there's no
Mhm.
cars coming, stuff like that. But when it comes to our growth and expansion, we definitely want our intuition in the driver's seat. So I love that. And I'm curious about like through this whole journey, which was kind of like a cumulative journey for you, right? Of following your intuition. What do you feel is the most important lesson you learned in trusting your gut?
Oof. One is the main one to me is don't say yes because you have the fear of something else, of that
Mm,
other person saying no to you. So many times I've said yes, and it also came from a place of fear as opposed to putting boundaries.
right.
And, so I think that's the biggest lesson. I think you can still help and be supportive of people and projects in different ways, but you need to put yourself first. And
Yeah.
most, and when I started doing that, when I started taking care of myself, of my time, um, it's when I saw things start thriving, sorry, and
Hmm.
growing.
Yeah. I always tell people your intuition will never give up on you. So there's no rush, right? You don't have to fear that, you're gonna. I think anytime we have this like fear, FOMO, fear of missing out on something or fear of losing an opportunity or whatever, um, I just don't think that that is a good place to say yes from because whatever is meant for you to experience, if it's not that particular experience, but you're still meant to experience something similar, it'll come to you through a different experience, right? So there, you can't really, you can't really miss out on an opportunity that is meant for you. So I love that there's no rush in saying yes, and make sure to tune in and take care of yourself first and set some healthy boundaries for yourself because
Mhm.
there are so many of us, especially women, who are saying yes too quickly. And then after we're like, shit, that like my intuition was actually telling me to say no on this, but I acted too
Mhm.
quickly. And now I said yes to something that doesn't feel good.
Uh-huh, exactly. And then you get nervous, you get stressed. How are you gonna get out of this? In
Yeah.
an example, this is such a silly, casual example, but I used to double book myself all the time. My
Mhm.
calendar was crazy because
Yeah.
I had this. insane thought that if I said no to someone or if I suggested a different time, that person would think less of me or would think I was annoying, or I was
Right.
always making myself smaller. So my calendar looked insane. And every day I was really stressed because I was trying to make it work and I was canceling on people last minute or not showing up just because I
Mm,
just couldn't say, you know what? Today is booked. Let's do this next week. And it's okay to take a little bit more time to get things done.
yeah. Yeah, there's no rush in life. Like again, it's that FOMO, that fear of missing out feeling. Whenever that shows up in your life, I think you have to, it's like red flag. There is nothing to fear. And I believe that if the person is not willing to wait for you for that day or that week or whatever that is, then maybe it's just not in alignment, and releasing our control over that. Yeah, I love that piece of advice.
Mhm.
Um,
Let's just take a quick pause to soak in the goodness of today's story. If you are feeling like your inspiration, your intuition, and your excitement is being ignited right now for your next yes, I invite you to join us in the Say Yes to Your Next Yes community. It is a free space, and it is a supportive community for ambitious, purpose driven souls who are ready to trust their intuition, take courageous action, and say yes to the life they know they're meant to live. This space is led by me, Jennifer Jane Young. I'm an intuitive leadership coach and the author of Say Yes to Your Yes: How to Trust Your Gut and Take the Leap. In this group, you're going to gain direct access to my guidance and coaching support, empowering you to break free from fear, align deeply with your purpose, and confidently take bold steps towards your next big yes in life or in business. Let's turn those intentions into empowered action so you can experience the life you have been dreaming of. Head over to jenniferjaneyoung.com/community to join us today. Now let's get back to the rest of this amazing story.
um, this is like the big daunting question of the interview every time. One that sometimes people are like, "Oh, I don't like this question. It feels so awful." And some people are like, "Oh, I'm curious to think about this." What do you think your life would look like today, or who would you be today if you had not said yes to your intuition in this whole experience?
Oh my God. That's a big question.
I
Well,
know, right?
I will I would probably be, not that this is bad. If you like doing this, of course, go ahead and do it. But I would probably be teaching art in Colombia. I think
Mm,
that's would have been done, or I would have gone into a completely different business. So my business is in the art world, a little bit
mhm,
different. We collaborated with artists, estates, and artists to develop commercial collaboration opportunities and make
mhm,
sure that estates and whatever products we create last for generations. So I'm very passionate about what I do. We do it through licensing, through product development, through estate operations, e-commerce, and so forth. But
mm,
I would have never done that if I hadn't taken the steps, if I'd never worked in museums, in galleries, getting to know artists, artist foundations, later on directing an organization that taught me about leadership, operations, management,
mm.
networking, too. But I feel like if I had stayed in my home, there's tons of other opportunities available, but definitely not in this area. So I would be someone completely different
Yeah, I
in a
know.
different.
It's kind of I often think about this also, and it always feels a little bit scary to me to think about who I would not be today if I had not taken all of those intuitive leaps. And I think that's the beauty of this intuitive journey. I actually just recorded a video about this morning because I'm reading a book, the uh, A Stroke of Eternity by Amber Kavanaugh. It's really good. And essentially, she had a near-death experience, and she talks about how like the whole purpose of life, of our experience here, is learning and growth. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Like we don't need to get anything perfect. There's not like this idea of getting it right. Um, And so it was such a beautiful reminder for me, even more, like it amplified kind of what I believed in and what I teach is like, say yes to your yes. Do the thing because you are here to grow. You have a growth path that is waiting for you. And the reason why your intuition is leading you to those things is so that you can fulfill your purpose while you're here on earth and
Yeah,
move and expand into the most beautiful version possible that you can be, you know?
100%. You know, I have a dear mentor, and she's one of the most amazing business leaders I've met. And every time I meet with her, which is every couple months, we always start with, saying hi, how are you? But she always takes a moment to stop and tell me, how amazing is it that 2 years ago, you would have never thought that you have accomplished all that you
Yeah,
have. And that just puts things into perspective,
yeah,
because we're always, especially entrepreneurs, we're always thinking we're not doing enough. We could
yeah,
always be selling more. We could always be more productive. We could always be hiring better people. We could always be doing all these sorts of other things that we think we're not doing. But think where you were a year ago, and you've done so much since then. And I think the moment that you stop growing and learning, that's the moment that you really need to rethink what you're doing, because that's your intuition telling you that maybe it's
yeah,
time to try something else, or do it a different way if you can.
yeah. I think that's the moment when you stop living fully, when you're
Hmm.
not growing and learning. Yeah, I love that.
And it's all, I don't
Um,
know if this happens to you, but at least in the people that I know very well, I can see when someone is stops growing and learning,
mhm.
because they almost like shut down a little bit, and they're not so excited
Yeah,
about their day today anymore. And I I always notice that I make the comment of like, are you okay? Do you enjoy what you're doing? Are you learning? What
yeah,
else do you want to be doing? And a lot of the times people say, oh, I don't know. Well, explore different things, right? See what sparks your curiosity and interest.
totally. A really great book for someone who is actually feeling like this right now. Like if you guys are feeling like what we're talking about, Raquel and I, of like you're just kind of like life feels blah. Um, I agree. That's probably a moment where you're not learning and growing anymore. The Artist's Way is a great book to get you
Mhm.
exploring your curiosity. Really, really good book. So yeah, we're here to explore life and play. I think we don't play enough as adults. And I would say as entrepreneurs, we like you said, we take this business journey so seriously and we think that we have to do more and we're not doing enough and we're not doing it right and we're not getting it right. And we definitely need more play. I love
Absolutely. And
that.
you mentioned that book. I work with artists and artists' legacies, as I mentioned, all the time. And it's
Mm.
interesting to see how artists never get bored. They could
Yes.
have nothing to do, but they're so curious, and they're
Yeah.
so introspective and retrospective as well. that they can never get bored. And yeah,
Mm.
of course, being an artist has its frustrations, but oh boy, it's just such a joy to work with people that anything that you throw at them, even if it's challenging or not, they
Yeah.
can come back at you with an answer. Sometimes we say, you know what? What if we do this collaboration? What if we develop this product in a different way? The answer is always give me one day, give me some time, and they come back to you with something truly amazing. But it doesn't come from a place of not doing anything, of reading and being curious and always learning new things. But it's kind of
Yeah.
like that drive that allows them to never be bored.
Yeah. A childlike spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. I love
Right.
that.
Exactly.
Um, well, I'm curious about so the one of my big desires and wishes with this podcast is that this episode falls in front of the person that really needs to hear it right now in their life. I believe that the right books, the right interviews, the right people, the right mentors fall into our life just when we need it. Um, if there's someone listening that feels really connected to your story and is also wanting to follow their intuition, but maybe feeling a bit stuck or not quite sure how to move forward, what would be one drop of wisdom that you would like to leave with them about trusting their gut and taking this path?
Oof. I think the only reason why we don't trust our God is because we have fear of something bad happening.
Mm.
So, for example, for the longest time, I just didn't become a full-time entrepreneur because I was really afraid that I was going to have no money for the rest of my life, right? That's a very real fear, or like you
Yeah.
just take this leap that your intuition is telling you, you have no clue if it's going to work out or not. And I think if you're a person that has strong values, a strong system of support, meaning your family, your friends, your mentors, your colleagues, whoever, even if it's just one person, eh,
Mm.
as well, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be
Hmm.
fine. Like the worst thing that can happen is you fall and then you're gonna have to get back up, and that is okay. And why be so afraid of the future if we can only control the present in reality? And
Yeah.
I say that, and it sounds super cheesy, but it took me a while to realize that because I was so afraid of the future
Mm.
too. So you can only control what you can control. What you
Yeah.
can't control, why stress about it? Do your best. And if you have good values and a good system of support, there's nothing you can do, and just worry about your present.
That's such beautiful advice. I love that so much. And we always can get back up. Like
Mhm.
we forget how um strong and capable and resourceful we are. And it's actually when we fall down that we find our power. So in the falling down, there is so much learning and growth that happens there. And it's like that's what allows us to remember how powerful we are. So I love this so much.
Mhm.
And can you tell us a little bit more about like uh, the work that you do and where people can find you if they want to connect with you, if they're really like connected to your story or connected to the work that you're doing? We're going to share the links in the show notes, but I would love to just hear a little bit more about you and what you do and how where we can find
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. So please visit our website, forartpartners.com. That's where you can find me. My email is there. You can always reach out to me if I can be of help, support, connecting you to someone. We focus on partnering with artists and artist estates. An artist estate usually comes from an artist legacy, from an artist that is deceased. Usually they live a big a portion of the work that they did, what they were living, to their families or lawyers or estate managers, and we come and support them in all things growth, operations, community, generating revenue as well. And then with young artists or emerging artists or artists that are living, we work with them to develop licensing and collaboration projects with brands, with
Mm,
retailers, or the intersection of product. So we're basically like this community and accelerator of all things art and commerce in connection to product and legacy as well. And I love what we do is very unique and interesting
mm.
as well. But if there's anyone that I can help, I'm always happy to have a conversation. And we're also on Instagram, very active. My
Okay.
Instagram team is just amazing, and they do such a good job at, sharing what we do and uh, trying to connect with everyone. So it's also at For Art Partners, the number four.
Okay.
And yeah.
I love it. If I could switch lives for a day, I would want your business for a day. That sounds so fun. I would
Well, it's
love to do
really,
that.
really fun.
Yeah.
The most fun part is we decided to go crazy and develop our own product at the end of last year. So not only
Yeah.
we work with artists and legacies to do collaborations with other brands and product companies and retailers, but we also work with artists to develop our own products. And that it's not just let's grab the artwork and put it in a product. The product is born from the artist, is created by the artist. We launched our first collection in December of last year. We had a few more coming out at the beginning of this year, and we're launching the holiday product line in a few months. So it's the most
Wow.
fun. I'm also never bored. Sometimes very stressful, but that's okay. And show me a job that is not.
I mean, right. It's
Or if you're
life.
an entrepreneur or something. I feel like
Yeah,
if your stress is because you care and you feel like you can control it, so just figure out how to control it and you'll be fine.
totally. Totally. I love that so much. Well, thank you for being here and sharing your story. So inspiring, and I can't wait to get it out to the world and in front of people. And I'm so happy you said yes to your yes, and you're living this beautiful, expansive, creative life. So thank you
No,
for being here.
thank you. This is so needed, and I really appreciate your time and having me and share my insane journey, but I hope it helps someone and feel free to stay connected.
Thank you so much, Raquel.
Okay, let's just take a moment to take in that story. My wish is that it inspires you into the aligned action that you are really ready for. You also don't have to do this alone. Just like my guests have shared about all the incredible people that have supported them along their journey, we are here for you too. If you're ready to uplevel your personal leadership, take big leaps in your life, or take that next leap on your entrepreneurial journey, join us at the School of Intuitive Leadership so that you can experience more ease, flow, joy, abundance, and live in your full brilliance and wake up each day to the life that you really want. Find out more at jenniferjaneyoung.com or at theschoolofintuitiveleadership.com. And participate in this movement with us by sharing an episode that deeply inspired you and leaving us a review. I can't wait to see you on the next episode.